शुक्लांबरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। अपारकरुणासिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखरगुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम्। वागर्ताविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्तप्रतिपत्तये जगतपितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। Hello everyone. Let's review shlokas 4 and 5 in Soundarya Lahari. Tvadanyaḥ pāṇibhyāmabhayavaradō daivatagaṇaḥ tvamēkā naivāsi prakaṭitavarābhītyabhinayā bhayāt trātuṃ dātuṃ phalamapi vāñChāsamadhikaṃ śaraṇyē lōkānāṃ tava hi charaṇāvēva nipuṇau. Verse 4 in Soundarya Lahari talks about the unparalleled power of Devi's feet. It says, "Hey refuge of the worlds, all gods other than you show gestures to dispel fear and bestow boons through their hands. You alone are not like that and do not openly display such gestures of grace and protection. Your feet themselves are certainly capable of protecting from fear and grant blessings beyond anything one could desire." Let's take a closer look at this verse. First, we'll look at the word-by-word translation. Tvad means you, the second personal pronoun. Anyaha means other. So, tvadanyaḥ means other than you. Pāṇibhyām means with their hands. Abhaya is the gesture to dispel fear. So, with the right hand, the gods will raise their hand and show whole palm, and that's called as abhayam, and that is the gesture to dispel fear. Abhayam, no fear. Varadam is the gesture to grant boons, and gods show that with their left palm pointing down. Daivata means gods. Ganaha means group or class or categories. So, tvadanyaḥ pāṇibhyāmabhayavaradō daivatagaṇaḥ. Other than you, all the other gods through their hands show abhayam and varadam. Tvamēkā means you, eka means alone, naivāsi, which is split as naivāsi. Na means not, eva means thus, asi means are. So, tvamēkā naivāsi, you alone are not like that. Prakaṭitavarābhītyabhinayā. Prakatita means openly. Varabhiti is the gestures of grace and safety. Abhinaya means to show or to display, to act. So, you alone openly do not display those gestures of grace and safety. Bhayāt means from fear. Trātuṃ means to protect. Dātuṃ means to grant. Phalam means the boons or results. Api means also. Cha and vāñChāsamadhikaṃ. Vāñcha means desired. Samadhikaṃ means plentiful, excessive, superabundant. So, to protect from fear and grant boons, and also much more than what is desired. śaraṇyē means hey refuge. lōkānāṃ, of all the worlds. Tava, your. He means certainly or indeed, and it is used to emphasize that. charaṇāvēva nipuṇau. Charana eva nipuṇau. Charana means feet and eva means alone. Nipuṇau means capable or expertise. So, nipuṇau means an expert. So, your feet themselves are surely capable of granting that. Let's take a much closer look at the meanings of these words. So, if you look at worshipping God, we can worship God in two ways. One with a specific form and qualities, which is called as saguna, or without any form, just an abstract formless presence, which is nirguna. Worshipping God as a nirguna is very difficult for most of us because it's hard to relate to something we can't visualize. So generally, Saguna worship is predominant. So when you talk about it, think of Lalitambika, Rajrajeshwari, Kamakshi, etc. So they have a certain form. The goddess looks in a certain way. She has 4 hands. She's holding certain things in her hands. So that's what is a Saguna worship, and generally it's easy for us to relate to that. And if you notice, be it Lalitambika, Rajrajeshwari, or Kamakshi, while they have 4 hands, none of those hands show the Abhayam or Varadam, right? And that's what this verse is saying. It is the feet that grants that Abhayam and Varadam. Now, when we worship God, it can be for many reasons, right? Some of us will pray for worldly things like success, pleasure, security. We call this dharma, artha, and kama. And there are others who pray for knowledge and liberation from the cycle of birth and death, which is called as moksha. So, we can pray to Lalitambika either for dharma, artha, and kama or moksha. Let's say we are worshipping Devi as Lalita Tripura Sundari. So we'll start by asking for material wealth, happiness, whatever it is that we desire, right? So we'll begin by holding her feet and praying for whatever it is that we want. As we go on praying to her, over time, she will gently pull us in with her grace, and that's what the pasham in her hand symbolizes. And when she pulls us in with her grace, then we will begin to surrender our mind and senses to her willingly. And you can see in Lalita Sahasranamam, it says, Mano Rupekshu Kodanda Panchatanmatra Sayaka. The sugarcane bow that she is holding represents our mind, and the flower arrows that she is holding represents our senses. So we'll start to submit our mind and senses to her willingly. And when our mind becomes absorbed in her, then she will start to guide us in the right path. And that's what she symbolized by the angusham that she is holding. And with that, she will lead us forward. As we progress in our sadhana, we'll start to become fearless and desireless. What exactly is fear? Fear is that feeling that something or someone might harm us. And what is desire? It is wanting something or someone or some experience, right? So both fear and desire will arise only when we believe that there is something other than us. When we believe that there is something other than us, then we are looking at the world in terms of duality. There is a separation between me and the world, which is called as the dvaita bhavam. But when one starts to merge their identity with her, then we'll slowly start seeing our oneness with her. At this point, we feel very safe and protected. And jnanis can go much further. When one realizes that there is only one ultimate reality, that everything is connected and part of that same whole, then fear and desire will completely disappear. And that is the state of Jivan Mukti, that is liberated when alive. So such people will no longer feel bound by fear or bound by desire, because now there is an understanding that there is no separation, there is no other, everything is one. That's the Advaitam. So when we start by asking for worldly things, she will lead us to something much greater, which is the liberation. The peace, freedom, and happiness one can get from merging with the divine are far beyond anything one could have imagined at the start of worship, and that's why it says vāñChāsamadhikaṃ, much more than what is desired. It is said that this verse 4, it is chanted to achieve royal pleasures and sustain them. And you can see that the namas Bhayapaha, Kamadayini, Vanchitartha Pradayini in Lalita Sahasranamam are all relevant to this particular verse. Let's now look at verse number 5. Haristvāmārādhya praṇatajanasaubhāgyajananīṃ purā nārī bhūtvā puraripumapi kṣōbhamanayat smarō'pi tvāṃ natvā ratinayana vapuṣā munīnām apyantah prabhavati hi mohāya mahatāṃ. Verse 5 in Soundarya Lahari talks about the greatness of worshipping Devi. It says, in the past, after worshipping you, the one who bestows prosperity upon devotees, Lord Vishnu assumed a female form that even stirred the heart of the destroyer of Tripura. Smara too, by worshipping you, attained a form that Rati gazes upon with longing, and with it he became capable of instilling deep passion even in the hearts of sages. Let's take a closer look at this verse and we'll begin with the word by word translation. Hari. Hari means Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. Tvāṃ means you. Āradhya means worshipped. Pranata means those who bow down. Jana means people. So praṇatajana means devotees. Saubhagya. Saubhagya means good fortune or prosperity. Generally, we think of prosperity as wealth, but prosperity also includes wealth, great virtues, and well-being. Janani. Janani means one who gives birth. So, Janani is mother. In this context, it is one who creates prosperity for her devotees. So, Janani here means the creator of prosperity, bestower of prosperity. Purā. Purā means previously, in the past, before, earlier. All of those are meanings. Nārī. Nārī means a woman, a female. Bhūtvā means having become. Puraripum. So, pura and ripum. Pura is the cities, and these are considered to be 3 cities that Shiva destroyed, and that's what this pura represents. It is the cities. Ripu means enemy, destroyer. So, puraripu means destroyer of the cities, who is none other than Shiva. Api means even. Kṣōbham means a disturbance, a agitation, a shaking. So, in this context, it is stirring of an emotion. Anayat means brought or delivered or created. Smarō'pi. So, smara api. Smara is Kamadeva, Manmada. He is the god of love. Api means also. Tvāṃ means you. Natva means having bowed or after bowing. So, smarō'pi tvāṃ natva means Manmada also after having bowed down to you. Rati. Rati is the wife of Manmada. She is the goddess of love. So, if we think of Manmada to be love, and then Rati is the enjoyment that you can get out of that love. That is the pleasure. So, Rati is the pleasure. So, she is the wife of Manmada. Nayana means eyes. Lekhyena. Lekhyena means to lap up. So, what this means is Rati Nayana Lekhyena means Manmada's charm is so irresistible. His allure is irresistible that Rati simply can't take her eyes off of him, or she's feasting her eyes upon him. So, that represents how charming Manmada is. Rati Nayana Lekhyena. Vapusha. Vapusha means form or body, and a form of body that is extremely beautiful, marvelous beauty. That is what Vapusha means. And that's why Rati could not even take her eyes off of him. Muninam. Muninam means the sages. Apyantaha, which is split as api, antaha. Api means even, and antaha means in or in the inside. Prabhavati means to be able to. He means indeed or certainly, which is emphasizing it. Mohaya. Moham means delusion. The attachment that causes a delusion or a confusion. Mahatam. Mahatam means something that's great. In this context, we can take that as deep passion or deep illusion, delusion, or you can think of it as intense passion. So, we've looked at the word by word meanings. Let's look at the explanation. So, we can see here the verse talks about Vishnu taking a female form. So, this is the Vishnu's Mohini avatar. That's what is being referenced here. So when the devas and demons churned the ocean for nectar, the demons stole the amritam from Dhanvantri. At that time, there was complete chaos. And so Vishnu meditated on the divine form of Mahatripura Sundari. And as a result, he obtained a form that was similar to Devi. And in this form, we call Vishnu as Mohini. And it's because Devi is Tripura Sundari, the most beautiful in all three worlds. Because she gave her beauty, Vishnu as Mohini was also very beautiful. He was capable of enchanting the entire world. Mohini means enchantress. And as Mohini, Vishnu enchanted the demons and he gave the nectar to the devas. And there is a story related to Bhasmasura, where Bhasmasura asked for a boon from Shiva, that if he places his hand on anybody's head, then they should burn to ashes. Shiva granted it, and Bhasmasura wanted to try that on Shiva himself. And then Shiva ran away from that place, and it is said that Vishnu again took that Mohini avatar and tricked Bhasmasura into placing his hand on his head and brought an end to Bhasmasura. So after hearing that, Shiva was really impressed and he wanted to see the Mohini form of Vishnu, because Shiva was not there when Bhasmasura was being tricked. So Shiva wanted to see. And so Vishnu actually showed that form again to Shiva. And if you see, Shiva is Kameshwara. He is master of desires. We call Manmada as Kama Deva. He is the lord of desires. He is the god of love. Whereas Shiva is Kameshwara. He is the master of love. That means he is dispassionate. He has mastered all his desires. Even though Shiva is Kameshwara and has mastered all his passions, when he saw Vishnu as Mohini, he was overcome with desire for Mohini, and their union led to the birth of Ayyappa. That's why we call him Harihara Sutta. Another story also tells that when Shiva destroyed Tripurasura, he was so angry and nobody could calm him down. And at that time, everybody was afraid. When Shiva is angry, he does the Rudra Tandavam, it leads to destruction. So they all prayed to Vishnu for protection. And Vishnu also didn't know what to do. And at that time, Narada suggested that Vishnu should worship Tripura Sundari in the form of Sri Chakra. And Vishnu did not know how to do it. And it is said that Parashakti herself appeared before Vishnu and initiated him into the Panchadasi mantra and the mode of worship of Sri Rajarajeshwari in Sri Chakra. Vishnu then meditated on her and received the power to assume any form and used his Mohini avatar to calm Shiva. And it said that that's the same Mohini avatar he used to deceive the demons when they were serving Amrita. So Manmata also worshipped Tripura Sundari using Panchadasi mantra, and he gained the power to make anyone fall in love. And we all know Manmata got burned by Shiva, right? And after being burned by Shiva's third eye, Manmata was revived by Devi. And at that time, when he became born again, he was only visible to Rati. Nobody else can see him. See, that's why he is called as Ananga. Then, despite his form not being visible, he was able to captivate the entire world, and that was because of Devi's grace. So both Vishnu and Manmada are great Panchadasi Upasakas, and in fact Manmada is so powerful that nobody can enter Srinagara without his permission. So both Vishnu and Manmada are devotees of Devi, and it is talking about the benefits they got by worshipping Devi. And we can see that these lines are talking about the beauty aspect of Devi as well as the elusive power aspect of Devi. So Vishnu as Mohini, most beautiful enchantress, was able to stir passion even in Shiva. And Smara was able to create passion even in the hearts of sages. These sages have so much control and they practice all this austerity, but Manmada is able to make them also fall in love or become deluded. So she is extrinsic beauty and intrinsic power, and she is capable of granting the same to all her devotees. So if we continue to worship Devi and if we have intense sadhana, then we can also become externally beautiful and internally powerful. Now, if we look at this verse more closely, we'll see that it's talking about the descent of creation and ascent of sadhana. So it says, Vishnu assumed a female form, nārī bhūtvā. So Vishnu is none other than that absolute reality. And we all know that absolute reality manifests into everything we see in this universe. And the reason for that manifestation is its own will. So Vishnu here took a form because of Devi's blessings. So the absolute reality manifests out of its own will. So now when it manifests, it has a form. Now if you look at kṣōbhamanayat, if we split that as kṣōbhamanayat, kṣōbha means disturbance, man means mind, yat means associated with. So if one is associated with mind, then there is disturbance. So the ultimate reality manifests into a form, and that form has a body and the mind is subject to agitation. And that agitation is the result of Maya. And Devi is responsible for Maya, and nobody can escape that Maya. So even great sages are all subject to that Maya. So in Devi Mahatmyam, it says, Jñāninām api chetamsi Devi bhavati sa balādakrishya mohaya mahamaya prayachati. If you look at the next line here, smara. Smara in Sanskrit also means memory. We said smara means Kamadeva, but smara also means memory. And we know Manmada was reduced to ashes by the fire from the third eye of Shiva. Now, only when there is no kama, desire or passion, then there is jnana. And that jnanam leads to liberation. So it was the divine grace that destroyed the body and mind, and Devi compassionately revived kama into a formless being. And those who are liberated are called as dvija. Dvija means twice born. So you can see that when Manmada was born again, he became capable of inducing passion in anyone. Earlier, he could not bring Shiva under spell, right? So here it talks about the dvija, the liberated people are called as twice born, and liberated people actually transcend all their limitations and they become limitless. So here it talks about how formless took a form, and that form was subject to Maya, and by the divine grace, the body-mind association is freed up, and one transcends all their limitations and recognizes oneness with that absolute reality that is limitless. So by steadily worshipping Devi, we develop equanimity, a high level of sattva that will clear our mind of all its vices, and we stop asking for things and revel in the abundance of life. We enjoy the moment-to-moment experience, and we become liberated from our fears of the past and anxieties of the future, and that is the way to be perpetually happy. This is the greatness one can obtain from worshipping Devi. It's said that this particular verse is chanted to attract and captivate everyone's attention, and we've seen in Lalita Sahasranamam, Kamalaksha Nishevita, Mohini, Vishnumaya, Shambhu Mohini, Kama Pujita. Those are all namas that are relevant to this particular verse. So with that, we've looked at both the verses, and let's take a look at a short story related to Puraripu, the destroyer of Tripura. So once upon a time, there was a demon named Tarakasura. And Tarakasura caused a lot of trouble for everyone on the earth and also for the Devas. And we all know, in the end, Kartikeya, Lord Muruga, defeated and killed him. Taraka had 3 sons, and they were Tarakaksha, Kamalaksha, and Vidyunmali. And these 3 sons wanted to be immortal. So they performed a severe penance towards Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma was very pleased with their penance, and so he said he would grant each of them a boon. Immediately, these 3 demons asked for immortality, and Brahma said, sorry, I can't grant you immortality, but ask something else and I'll grant that to you. So then the demon brothers asked for 3 flying cities made of gold, silver and iron, and these were revolving around the galaxy. So each one got one city, one made of gold, one made of silver, one made of iron. And they also said they wanted a special condition for someone to kill them. They can only be killed when these three cities are aligned in one axis and only by a single arrow. And these three cities will align on one axis only for a fraction of a second, and that too once every 1,000 years. So they said this is the condition. Obviously, you can see that it is almost impossible, a fraction of a second every 1,000 years. So pretty much these demons thought they have assured immortality for themselves. Obviously, Brahma didn't have any issues with it. Brahma granted their request, and he called the demon architect Mayasura and asked him to build all these cities for them. So now these demons, armed with the boon, now they are wreaking havoc on the universe. Now from their aerial city, they will mount attacks on the devas and all the rishis, and they will harass these people again and again. And the rishis could not do any yajna whatsoever. Ultimately, it became too much for the gods and sages. So they all went to Shiva and asked for his assistance. And they said, somehow please put an end to this menace. So Shiva agreed to help them. But Shiva had to wait for the right moment, because only for a fraction of a second every 1,000 years, right? So he was waiting for the moment. So the moment these three aerial cities started to converge, Shiva mounted on his chariot and started moving towards them. So Brahma was the charioteer, and the sun and moon were the wheels of that chariot. And so Shiva sped across, and he took out his bow, and his bow was made of Meru, and Vasuki was the string, and the arrow was none other than Vishnu himself. And just as these three cities came together, Shiva hit them with that single arrow. And his aim was so precise that Shiva's arrow struck the three cities when they converged, and it burnt the three cities. And that's why we call Shiva as Tripurantaka. So Tripurantaka Shiva has 4 arms. He has a Trishula in one, a Damru in another, and the remaining 2 he's holding the bow and the arrow that he directed at Tripura. So Tripurantaka means one who put an end to Tripurasuras. And we also say that the Tripura or Triputi is the 3 states that we are in: the state of waking up, the state of deep sleep, and state of dreaming. And when we are in all these 3 states, we do not recognize our oneness with that ultimate reality, and that's because of the Maya. And Tripurantaka destroys the veil of Maya, the Ajnanam, the ignorance that we have, and unites that individual soul with the supreme consciousness, which is called as liberation. That's all for today. Thank you.